Hi there. It is Thursday, August 27th, 2020. Guess what? It's raining. Today we're going to be having physical science class inside in the classroom that I showed you yesterday. We're going to sit at the tables alone. We're going to point our faces toward the outside of the room. We're going to leave our masks on, and we're going to be pretty safe. I forgot to mention yesterday that if you ever want to wash your hands with soap and water in my classroom, you can totally do that. Right up there's a sink with soap, and there are towels in a dish pan right next to the sink that are clean. You can dry your hands on those, put them in the dish pan underneath the sink. I'll take them home and wash them. So we're going to stay safe. We're going to stay clean in our room so that we don't make each other sick. There are a couple things I want to talk about today. The first one is COVID-19 testing in Arkansas and what the positivity rate means. So the announcement today was, and these numbers are from yesterday, they tested 4,300 people, and 649 of them tested positive for COVID-19. Now, you've probably heard some stuff about how, like, schools shouldn't open again to in-person learning if the COVID positivity rate is more than 5% or more than 10%. There are different organizations that say different numbers. The CDC has said 5%. Our governor has said 10%. So let's figure out what the positivity rate from these numbers that came back today is. So this is not a super mysterious number. This is just a simple division problem. You can figure it out. So what you do is you take the number of positive tests and you divide by the total number of tests, and you get 0.15. And then you take that number times 100, you get 15. So our positivity rate for today's tests that were for yesterday's tests, I guess, that were reported, is 15. So there are some problems with testing in Arkansas, some things that I'm concerned about that make me feel like maybe the testing numbers that we're getting are not 100% awesome, but that discussion is for another day. All I wanted to cover with you today was just when you hear that positivity rate term on the news or you hear other people talking about it, that's what that means. Now you know how to do the math so you can figure out positivity rate. In other COVID-related news, 7 less people are in the hospital today than yesterday, so that's good. But 21 people have died in the last 24 hours, so that's bad. So those are the numbers that were announced on Wednesday for COVID-19. Another announcement, totally not about COVID-19, is that this is just an MHS announcement that I wanted to mention. 9th through 12th grade boys basketball tryouts are Monday and Tuesday from 4:15 to 5:30. Be sure you have a current physical and wear basketball shoes. See, I made myself a note to talk to you about that today. So the other thing I want to discuss, only other thing I want to talk about today in our video is that I have been making notes from your responses to the Edpuzzle videos from earlier in the week. And you may remember that I asked, what are you concerned about or what are you worried about so far for this school year? And there were a lot of really thoughtful responses. There were a lot of people who had, there were a lot of people who were just like, yeah, nothing, I'm good, everything's fine. Great. You know, I'm glad that you're not stressed about anything. There were a lot of just like kind of normal first week of school concerns, like I'm concerned that I'm not going to get to my classes on time, or that I'm not going to fit in, or that that I'm not going to get to see my friends enough. There were a couple of students who said they were concerned that they would want to hug their friends when they see them after not seeing them all summer, and they weren't supposed to hug their friends. So I mean, a lot of those just regular kind of back to school butterflies in the stomach things are things that I promise are going to feel a lot better in the next couple of weeks. Now, some people had concerns specifically related to the weird school year. I'm worried that I won't have the information I need to sign on to my classes on time, or I'm worried that that I won't understand how the online learning systems work, and so I won't get my stuff turned in when I'm supposed to, and things like that. And what I want you to know about that is that we're all learning together how to handle this virtual school thing, this idea that some of us are in school and some of us are at home on any given day. And I think that we are all really working on showing each other some grace and some patience. I am not great at this because I am very new at having classes that are in person and online at the same time, right? A lot of your teachers are trying to get used to this new LMS called Schoology. We're all learning a lot, and none of us are going to be perfect this first week or 2 or 3. So my advice to you is, if there's something that you think you're not getting, you're not on time for, or you can't find, be honest with your teacher. Email your teacher and say, I am so sorry that I messed this up, whatever it was. Can you please give me some advice, or I'll do better tomorrow, or whatever. Just being willing to be straight and communicate with the people who are in charge of things goes a long way toward helping us understand that you're trying, you're working on it, we're all gonna get better at this as time goes on, I promise. Now, one more question or concern that I thought was absolutely well articulated and valid and sounds like the kind of thing that I would think of was, my arm is tired. That's not what I meant to say. I'm just switching arms holding this. By the way, can you see that it's pouring down rain already? Did I already talk about that? I think I probably did. Anyway, a couple students have said they're worried because they're learning virtually from home, or they're in the classroom, but it's a weird situation with very small in-person classes. And they're worried that this year they won't learn as much as they usually do at school. And here's what I have to say about that. I think you're going to learn as much as you want to learn. That's true of if you're meeting in the classroom in a normal year with 25 other kids, or if you're home at your desk by yourself learning online, or you're in the classroom but there are only 10 other people, whatever. It doesn't matter. You learn what you want to learn. Last year, when things felt totally normal, if you came to school and you were a lazy thinker and you weren't willing to ask questions, and if you needed help, you didn't ask for help, and you weren't curious about things, and you didn't put a lot of effort into school, then probably you didn't learn a lot. I mean, period. That's just the way it is, right? You get out of things what you put into them. On the other hand, last year, if you were willing to work hard and you were willing to try again when you mess something up, if you were willing to ask questions, ask for help if you need it, be curious, look for answers to what you wanted to know about, then I bet you learned a lot. And that is absolutely going to be true this year too, whatever the situation is. You can be lazy, right? You can not work very hard. You can not ask questions. If you don't understand something, you can just be like, never mind, whatever, and give up. You cannot be curious. You cannot ask for help. And you can learn nothing, or at least very little. If that's the way you approach school, then you're not going to learn a whole lot. But if you really try and you work hard and you reach out for help if you need it, and if there's something you don't understand, you keep working on it, and if you're curious and ask questions, maybe if you're learning from home, you can use some extra time to get really good at something new, to learn a lot more about, I don't know, unicycles or caves or microbiology or sewing or whatever. Maybe you can turn this around and do exactly the opposite of what you're worried about. Maybe you can make this the year that you learn extra stuff because you have more autonomy and more ability to decide how you're going to approach your own education. So think about that. If that's something that you're concerned about, put a little thought into what you can do to make this an extra interesting year for yourself. So tomorrow again, or today, by the time you're watching this, we will very likely be meeting in the classroom. It'll very likely be pouring down rain outside. I'll look forward to seeing you, and we'll talk about whatever questions you have then.